I know.
Even
All right, guys, it is 6:01 and we have a quorum now, so let's go ahead and stand for allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Jen, go ahead and take roll call.
Jeremy?
Here.
Samantha?
Here.
Ruby? Here. Ray?
All right. So we just barely have a quorum, but we're gonna go ahead and move on, and hopefully Ray will join us here soon. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Ruby seconded it. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded, and is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. Jen, go ahead and call that vote.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Ruby? Aye.
All right, we are all the way down to SHS leadership. Who do we got today? Hello, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler Smith, and I would like to update you on some of the events happening at Sheridan High School. First thing, leadership. Prom is being held at Senior Vineyards on April 24th from 8 to 11 p.m. The theme this year is A Night in Rio. We had an assembly on Monday to announce prom court, students of the month, and placing games. General updates. The National Honor Society hosted the career fair today at the high school. We had over 40 companies attend. Juniors and seniors went to Chemeketa McMinnville campus on April 8th for a free preview day. They had the opportunity to learn about different pathway programs at Chemeketa and tour the campus. These are our program updates. Spring sports, track. Track is essential win tomorrow, and we are hosting a home on April 23rd. Here are the stats from the last meet at Elton. Chase Eichler received first in both the 100-meter and 200-meter. Zach Dowdman received second place in 1,500 and third place in 800-meter. Nolan Botoff received fourth place in shot put and fifth place in discus. Riley Matlock received third place for high jump, and I received fourth place for long jump. Iowa Thorne received fifth place for the 100-meter, and Ella Proc received fourth place in shot put. For the softball and baseball teams, softball has won 6 out of the 7 games since our athletes joined the co-op team with Willamina. Baseball has been practicing hard. Our players are currently JV and prepping for the first game on the 21st. Cheer. Cheer has tryouts this week and currently has 18 athletes. Volleyball and football are beginning spring activities and excited for new things to come. FFA. The vet science team got first place at districts last week. Driz Gerke and Alexa Lauber placed individually. Laura Rayback placed 9th individually in the floriculture competition. The plant sale will be May 7th through 9th, and banquet will be on the 23rd. Music. The jazz band brought home a first place trophy last week from the competition in Seaside. The choir went to Koskonak High School today to compete as well. They just returned a couple minutes ago. Other clubs and news. Mr. Coyle's Gaming Club meets every Wednesday after school. Hanson's Native Club meets once a week during lunch. Once a month during lunch, sorry. Drama Club meets every Tuesday and Thursday in the library after school. This is my report for this month. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, is there anything else you want? All right, admin report, we start with SHS.
Good evening. Thank you, Siler. Siler is a freshman, so I think it's the first time I've had a freshman present.
Yeah, you went to DC.
I did go to UC with
Oh,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he did a great job, Siler. I almost read his again. There we go. As you can see, I included, like I do every time I come before you, I present our kind of some enrollment information. You can see we are pretty much holding steady from the last month to April. Actually, we've had a couple pickups here over the last few weeks. We've picked up a freshman, a sophomore and a senior. I included the 8th grade numbers there just to give reference for next year as those kids enroll in for the fall. Our March students of the month, our March theme was taking a spring theme of kind of turning over a new leaf. Students that are kind of locking in right now, as they like to say. And so our senior was Jay Ott, our junior was Ryan Jenny, sophomore student was Brian Bonds, and our freshman student was Danilo Contreras. Cool thing about Brian Bonds, you can actually purchase a book. He published a book that is available on Barnes and Noble's website, I believe.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, want to give you a little bit of update about dual credit this year. Of course, we offer dual credit in 3 different ways. We have our relationship through Willamette Promise, which is Willamette ESD, and they partner with Oregon Institute of Technology and Western Oregon University to make sure that there is a clear connection between state high school standards and those college classes, so the high school standards are being met as well. And then we have College Credit Now, which is through Schmecada, which is also the same situation where the teachers PLC together so they make sure that the content of those courses can align. In Oregon, to get true dual credit, where you get high school and college credit, they have to meet the state standards for high school. So a student can take a college class, get the college credit, but it doesn't necessarily always equate to a high school credit. It would fall into it as an elective. Because if you ever spend time in a college class, you can get a professor who gets very focused on one thing for a long period of time. They call it U.S. history, but they might just like to talk about World War II for 6 months. And then, of course, we have our last one, which is expanded options, which is really where students can they enroll in a class, and the district has funds through the state that allow the students, and we pay their tuition at a discounted rate, I believe. It's a little bit discounted. Yeah. And so for this senior class, the senior classes tallied up a total of 44 college credits through the college winter term. So there's still students enrolled in spring term classes as well. So that number will go up as we approach graduation. Of course, this time of year, our seniors are busy wrapping up their senior projects, which is a great tradition here in Sheridan, where we are one of the few schools that has this requirement, where every student has to take on a project. One of the nice things about being a smaller school. As always, we extend an invitation to our board members if you would like to participate in the presentation and the scoring of those. Those presentations are being scheduled as we speak, and they'll take place the first 2 weeks of May. So if you're interested, you can reach out to Julia Holste, or to me, either way, and we can get you on one of those days to see some of our students present what they accomplished in their senior project. In regards to cell phones, everyone is still something that we will continue to address probably forever. We've definitely made that transition where students know the situation, they know the expectations. And so when we have to redirect, we're not getting in. There's not a lot of power struggles. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. And they put the phone away. I honestly don't think that will ever go away, that part of it, but at least we're not getting into power struggles where there's arguments happening about it. So that's the update on that. Simon mentioned prom coming up. We got our prom scheduled for next Friday. It's actually one of the benefits of having a 4-day schedule, a 4-day school week where we can have our prom on Friday. We get a little bit of a discount because a lot of these places aren't able to have a customer on a Friday night, so we're able to get a little bit of a better deal as a result of it. So as you mentioned, we have a night in Rio. We started our week this week with all of our spirit events, dress up days. Next Monday, we have a pie in the face assembly, which I'm assuming that, as usual, I will be receiving a great deal of pie in the face, which usually just means shaving cream. It's not a pie. I wish it was a pie. Yeah. Be a little more enjoyable. But we have 2 weeks of dress up days, and the kids, today was nerds versus jocks, and the kids did some great jobs, especially they really went all in on the nerd side more than anything. And then as we're in April already, halfway through April, we're looking at the home stretch for our seniors, like I said earlier. So we'll be hosting our graduation commencement ceremony at 2 p.m. on June 6th, on that Saturday. We are fortunate to have 3 valedictorians this year with perfect GPAs of a 4.0. One of those names was mentioned already, this Silas report, Drizzy Gerke, Hunter Klingler, I left out the G there, sorry, and Angel Dreyer, and then Lucas Brewster is being recognized as our salutatorian. So, and then all those students have been informed and they're very excited. One's very excited to give a speech, which makes me nervous. But I will make sure it works. We're all pretty. So, yeah, any questions? I'm gonna hand it off here in a second if you don't have any questions. Yeah.
For the senior projects, I want to, but I have to take on work, so I just want to make, if we have to go to all the days or just, gonna be one day?
If you can just do one day, whatever you're able to do, we just love to have, obviously, you being able to see what our students accomplished this year. And of course, your feedback to the students is also, especially, people who are, living that adult life and knowing what they're going into after this, that kind of feedback is what it's all about. The idea is
I haven't seen the schedule yet. I'm sure the board gets it. And you time up, you can just kind of sign up for slots, but also understand that sometimes the schedule changes. And I think, I'm going to see these 3 students and find out, when was sick that day, or, they had to move it for whatever reason to another day. So
it can be fluid for sure.
yeah. But there's just time slots.
It's a lot of fun to go to. It's really cool to see what these kids have done.
And we have some good ones this year too.
And approximately is it, not being familiar with whatever they are, when is it?
During the school day, so it'll be, during the school day.
Like in the next couple of weeks? Or?
Yeah, it's the first 2 weeks of May.
First 2 weeks of May, okay.
Yep. I had a question about the 44 credits for the seniors. I think that's awesome. How many seniors does that encompass? Are you talking about 5 kids or 2 overachievers, or?
No, it's not 2. It's more than 2. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I would venture to say probably, maybe around 8, 10 kids. Yeah.
So there's quite a few maybe taking advantage of
And then
that.
when you look at, that's just our seniors. We have a young lady who's a junior who she's actually taking a break this term because she has a lot of college credits already.
Yeah.
And with the expanded options, they don't get a time slot during the regular school schedule. So this is what they're doing on top of their regular school schedule if they're not doing the dual credit.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's dual credit, like one of the promising college credit now classes, like Ms. Holstead's psychology, or not Holstead, sorry, the stats psychology class. They're actually scheduled for that class in their day. So they would go in the 4th period, they'd be in psychology, and then they would get the dual credit for that high school and college course. But if they're doing the expanded options, most of the time it's just like on top of everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know we've had students graduate with their associates.
Oh, yeah. I honestly, in all my career, I've never worked in a place that has college credits so readily and easily available to all students. There's no barriers. There's no prerequisite required. You just simply have to ask. I want to do it. So the access is extraordinary here for that for kids.
Super awesome. I'm going to ask you maybe a tough question for you.
Okay. I like it.
You know me, right?
Yeah.
The declining enrollment at the high school.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've put lots of thought into it.
You too, Awakener.
Yeah. What do you think's going on? Is there anything as a board we could do better to help that number?
When you look at that, I presented, I think it was the last time, it might have been the last time I was there, I presented kind of like where this senior class had dropped over their 4-year span. I've looked at we do kind of like exit interviews, and so there's no rhyme or reason. There's no one there. Probably, if anything, the majority of it are kids going it's not this shop, it's Oregon Connections Academy. It's the online, and that is a national trend. And I think there's a variety of reasons for that. I think just a changing climate in this country about public education, maybe as a whole. But it's one of those equations, I think it's got about 7 or 8 variables, and it's hard to pin out like what's the one thing.
Okay.
Because I'm not seeing it, all that stuff, I'm not seeing one single thread that ties it all together. I mean, there's no matter, in all my time in doing this work, I've seen kids want to go someplace for athletics, but then I've seen people want to go someplace because they want to have a job at the same time. And honestly, sometimes it's because they are having social, emotional issues. They're having relational issues in the school. There's a myriad of reasons. And I'm thinking, right, what I'm seeing right now just seems to be a little bit of everything. So to answer your question, what can you do? You know, I think just continue what you do, I started to do, is just be great advocates for our district and the work we do. I think when it comes sometimes to online stuff, having worked in Alton for a long period of time and been connected to kids who they weren't being successful in the brick and mortar school, so they wanted to go online. There's a belief that that's an answer for a kid who's maybe struggling academically. And I think helping people understand that taking a kid out of a classroom where they've got a teacher, an instructional assistant, a support plan if they're maybe special ed, all these things that are meant to support a kid, and you put them in an online environment, online works really, really well for those kids who are so advanced and achieved, and they just need the barriers taken out of their way because they're just ready to go in that traditional setting. I think a lot of our kids they're looking for something different than that's going to help them. Those are the ones we see come back, and we see a lot of kids come back from Shapa or from wherever because they go try that and realize they're just not getting the support they need.
Now, what about SHS adding that to our spectrum, adding an online education piece? A lot of the schools around us, the high school has that ability. Like,
Yeah.
Do we have that ability?
Yeah, we have an online curriculum that we have kids do, like, and we usually have, so like right now, second semester, we usually offer, so right now Miss Stats is the teacher of record for an Edgenuity class. So we have students in there that are taking a multitude of different courses. We create that class mostly for our seniors who need who need more than the 3.5 credits they could get by the end of the year. So, you know, they're trying to accelerate, like, I gotta finish this out, this math class, and then I gotta take a social studies class, and then I gotta take an English class, and they're trying to wedge it all in. So we do that then. But at the same time, the teacher of record is, no teacher does everything. Miss Stats is one of the few teachers who's pretty good at doing, I mean, she's endorsed in advanced math, she's endorsed in social studies, but trying to find that one size fits all, a lot of times, even though you have a teacher of record doing that. And there's not a lot, you know, I gotta be careful not to expose my cynicism towards some of this, because when it comes to online stuff, like, there's not a lot of guardrails for really guaranteeing that a student's the one doing the work. So I question, I want to trust everybody, but, you know, I can't say for sure that everybody's being completely forthright. And, you know, especially with AI that's available now, it makes it very easy. So, while Shapa's got live teachers on the other end of things, Edgenuity and most of those don't. they're automatically scored and graded. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really hard. And I
I
know
just
they-
wonder if we continue to lose a large percentage of our students to going to that, if we don't need to figure out a way to master that as well.
Yeah, trust, I've thought about that, but I'm not ready to give up on the brick and mortar, to be honest with you. I still believe it's the best way. I think those relationships and that level of accountability. I finished up my continuing admin program during COVID, so it was online through Portland State. And it was the worst. It was so, I missed that engagement, and the learning that happens when you're the dynamic that happens. Truly what we call, the Socratic method. People, not just the teacher talking, but the whole. And I think there's still a great deal of merit in that. I think it has its place, like I said, for those kids that are like, get out of my way, the Doogie Housers that are just, I got plans, I got to get going. I think it has a place for that. Those kids are going to do great. They're going to do great no matter what they do.
Whether it's
Right.
online or in person, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is not, they're going to be fantastic. So,
I just think there's different learning styles, so.
oh, there's definitely different learning
Some people
styles.
thrive in different environments.
Yeah.
We should look to adapt based on
Yeah.
where the trends are going as much as we can without going crazy.
Yeah,
But, yeah, anyhow, thank you for that insight.
yeah. Yeah, Chris, thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna hand it off to Rowan to talk about primary career success.
Okay, so it's been a while since we talked about this at the beginning of the year, so I have a little bit of an update for you. So our ninth grade success team is still meeting about once a month, and discussing on average 2 students at each meeting. Just as a reminder, those students we're talking about are kind of our at-risk students. And things we talk about with them are kind of just, not necessarily their academics, that's certainly a piece of it, but we look at them holistically. So we look at their grades for one, but also how can we help them out as a person? Because one thing we look at is we can't really help them as a student until with the basic needs of the person are met. So the team is composed of Brian Coyle, our science teacher, Christina Fifield from our special education department, Odessa Hanson, our art teacher, Taylor Down, ELA teacher, Elias Polanski, who teaches PE and health, Jake Ruger, who's teaching social studies, Beth Stats, who teaches math, Sarah Hilliard, who's our AD and secretary, and Kelly Weathers, who's our grad coach, and then myself. And then, so here's our kind of our end of our first semester data. 73% of our ninth graders were on track, which means failing 1 or less core classes. Core classes being math, ELA, science, and social studies. 6% were off track, but failing only 2 classes, or 2 core classes, so we kind of classified them as our yellow tier students. 21% were off track, failing 2 or more core classes, which classified them as kind of our red tier students. So our goal was pretty lofty at 90%. Knowing almost full well we were going to come up short being our first year doing the work, but not to be cliche, if you kind of set your goal for the moon, at least you land amongst the stars. So we didn't quite land amongst the stars, but that's eventually where we want to get to. But it always takes a couple years to get this going. Like in my old district, it took us 2-3 years to kind of start moving the needle noticeably. So we're in the infancy of this, but that's what we'll get to eventually. After we had a good semester of data, we started looking at what we could do as educators to change our practices to better benefit our students. So some things we kind of looked at as a team were like in January, we all sat around for an hour and we talked about just things that we could do as a team, kind of like blanket policies we might have put in place to better benefit the ninth graders as a whole. So things we talked about was accepting late work without penalty, test, quiz, or assessment retakes, assignment resubmissions, assigning less homework or no homework, or at least providing time in class for kids to get their assignments done, and adjustments in our grading or weighting or assessments, and like assessing what's important, so some teachers took a really kind of inventory of their curriculum. It's like, why am I doing what I'm doing? in really like teaching to the standards. Okay, so this doesn't matter. Let's throw that out and focus more on this. So how can I say this more clearly? So we're not penalizing kids for not doing this. We're really focusing on what matters, essentially, if that makes sense. Additional interventions we put in place. So every 2 weeks, I'm going through every single ninth grader's grades, and I have a pretty elaborate spreadsheet put in place, and I'm tallying like every F that's in there. I'm looking at every single class. After I do that, I check in with most of the yellow and red tier students, and I pull them out of class, usually during an elective or PD, and we sit down for 5-10 minutes just to check in. I set a goal. Okay, if you have 3 Fs, we're not going to move the world in a week. Okay, but let's get this assignment done by the end of the week. Okay, just baby steps. Okay, another thing we do is, and Mr. Polanski's been really good with working with me on this stuff. Sometimes we get him out of PE or other electives to work on core classes, specifically with Kim Butt, who's recently retired, but she still likes to hang around with us. So she comes around on Mondays and Wednesdays, 7th period. She kind of donates her time and hangs out till 5 p.m. But we get kind of kids to come hang out with her and work specifically more on math and English during that time. She just provides more small group or one-on-one support in those areas for those kids. And many of our students who are sent out of the classroom for disciplinary reasons are also our off-track students. So when that happens, being the dean of students, I have a conversation with them about the behavior, what happened, how we can correct that going forward. Part of that, conversation also includes a grade check, and then typically I keep them out of the class for the rest of the period because whatever they got sent out, it's not working that day, so I'm not going to send them back into it. But then I spend the rest of that class period working with them on missing assignments or any work they're missing or whatever it might be the rest of that class period. Let's see. Second semester data so far. Good news is 3 of the original 15 off-track students from semester 1 are no longer failing any of their classes for semester 2, so they're trending in the right direction. We do have 7 new off-track students, but 6 of those I don't anticipate being off-track. They kind of have this trend of like, we're not going to do much, and then at the end we're going to pick it all up. So I'm not too worried about them. That's just kind of their MO. By the end of the year, I'm projecting a 75% on-track rate for the whole year. One thing that I am kind of noticing, and I'm sure you guys will notice, this is obviously my first year in Sheridan, but you guys have been here a lot longer than me. Obviously, this is a very high trauma area. A lot of these kids, especially our off-track ones, they're in survival mode, and it's really hard to prioritize education when they're just trying to scrape by. They don't know where they're sleeping at night or where they're getting the necessary food, just the basic needs to get by. So just looking at the list of off-track students, at least 8 of them are going through that right now. So if they have access to things most of us take for granted, the on-track number would be a lot better. So those are things that 9th grade team is talking about when we need, how we can help those kids out with those kind of things. That's kind of just a rundown of where we're at. What questions do you guys have for me?
I'd like to add a little bit to what Roman just was speaking about with those students who have external factors. They come to school every day. This is their one place where they know there are people that are going to care for them. They're going to have food. They're going to have friends. It's going to be normal. So sometimes we have to shift what the important thing is a little bit. And worry about that stuff as we can. Also, it's great to watch him relearn algebra. I've had a lot of chuckles because he works right outside of my office with these kids, and it's a lot of fun to listen to him.
That's a blast. Today, so one of the girls specifically who I work really closely with, this is one whose home life is really rough, and she makes it to school every day, but she's going through a lot right now, and I don't know why she's latched on to me as her person. I walked in because I was dealing with something else and Pat was working on math repair and I was like, thank God. I'm off the hook for a few minutes. And then some came up and he had to go and I was like, wow, 10 minutes was nice. But math definitely works now. Math is not my strong suit. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see the numbers over the years. Yes.
Yeah, it's a long
Like the
term.
beginning of the day.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it too has to do with kind of a culture shift in how we interact with our students from a disciplinary standpoint. So our younger teachers like Mr. Polanski and Mrs. Downs, it's all they know because it's their first year doing it. So how they handle like the kind of ticky-tacky interruptions with redirects and hallway conversations, they're finding that works really well. But it's a new concept for some of our older teachers. So the younger ones are like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like, yeah, I'm kidding. But so like sometimes I have to remind the older ones, like, hey, try this. So that, yeah, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, it does work. Yeah, but yeah, the underserved kind of kids, those ones that we're talking about that are having trouble with just their home lives, those are the ones that we talk about mostly in those meetings. And why we have so many people in these meetings, it's like Sarah and Kelly especially. You wouldn't think those are the ones we have on the 9GS team, but they have so much background through their knowledge of the area and the kids coming up from their youth. All those little bits of information that all these people have, helps us be able to kind of meet them where they're at. And any of that little information can help us just make a little bit of movement with that kid. So.
Great. Well, thank you for coming and sharing an update. We look forward to the next update.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have our superintendent report.
Okay, good evening. Superintendent report for April. I'm circling back to last month. This was a question about fundraising. I have some information, just some of the larger things going on at FCS. The book class in raising had $16,256 in donations. Of that, $15,138 went to all students earning a book to take home. It's a great program. They do this every year about the same time. Jazz night that the board, all the board members attended. They raised just over, they raised $2,300. On that one, McMinimums is another one that is yearly in supporting the positive behavior interventions and supports. And I think what I'm learning and talking with staff about this and working with the admin, the schools really try to coordinate the fundraising events. So we're not competing against against ourselves, basically, in how we space out fundraising over the course of the year. The high school report looks a little bit different. I didn't get the amounts, but you see how things are kind of spaced out by the month. Cheerleaders, they did a father-daughter dance to help with the national trip costs. Girls basketball team had their free throw a-thon. The Keegan Smith Memorial basketball game as a fundraiser for a senior project to go for that scholarship. This is $1,000 each year. Cheerleaders had their showcase. Leadership team did Krispy Kremes. It seems like 2 to 3 times a year we have Krispy Kreme donuts as a fundraiser for any one of our many endeavors in the district. And then April, leadership team continues with prom tickets, and that's that pie in the face thing coming up. And then our district, the Learning Center, collecting cans to help with some of their costs for different field trips that they take. So it just kind of gets all spaced out and trying not to really saturate the community. I generally hear about and see about whether it be can bars and some of these things. And it seems like we've kind of moved away from those because we don't gain that much money for the effort. And so it's a lot of the pop cans and different things throughout the year for fundraising. All right, and I'd like to update the board on our budget for the 26-27 school year. We are in the midst of right sizing based on drop in enrollment that we talked about. This includes not replacing 3 teachers that we believe are going to resign or already have resigned. So we will absorb those 3 positions. And then 2 reductions in force. FTE also includes adjustment at the district office. I'm keeping my contract the same as this year. And then the secondary level, we take it in levels. We look first at our staffing, and then second we go to programs. We're looking at insurance costs, and if we end up having to hold insurance at the current rate, we are going through all of our contracts. I notified Superior Education that we would not contract with them this year. We are definitely evaluating everything as we go through to make the additional cuts. And then the last thing we will look at are furlough days. And there's still some unknowns and things that Karen is working on. We will have a internal draft of the budget next week. Our budget committee meeting is a week from Monday. So we will be ready for that. Any questions on budget and our process?
No budget on the Studer contract,
I know.
because we put in so much work and, we're kind of halfway through the stuff.
They offered a 1 survey contract that was around $3,000. And I might look at that. And what I really want to do is just pause it and look at it again next spring. There are certainly elements of Studer that we can keep going. It would be the survey and the coaching. That's what we're paying for.
Okay.
Brent, of course, said he would keep in touch, but we can still do deliver rounding. We can do scorecards. Our strategic plan is good for 2 more years.
Okay.
So we'll continue that work, but it's a $40,000 contract that pays for Brent to come twice, plus the survey data, because they do all of that. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
Oh,
We have another question?
No, we have the questions from the survey.
Yes. Yeah. We could pull on that. So, or maybe we look at just picking one of the surveys that we really feel like, it's really important. We hear from our parent caregiver group at least once a year. So let's continue with that one. And we can certainly look at that.
Are the surveys like proprietary?
I don't know. I'll have to check. Yes.
Yeah.
We will find that out.
To do it.
Yeah. But I've been in communication with superintendents of other districts and heard from at least 3 others today that they are all looking at cuts. Drop in enrollment and the current service level not keeping pace with the rising cost of everything. All right, and we've already talked about enrollment, and I'm going to put a little bit different spin on this. I went back to September of 23, just looked at the ebb and flow of our enrollment. The 43 here is the difference from the September of 24 to current. The high school is from September 23 to current, so I messed that up in my calculations. And then you see the increase for Shaka and what they have done. I did a little bit of a dive, and I can continue to do more on this, but at the high school, there's we talked earlier about the reason, and there's always there's a myriad of reasons in here. Some people just move out of state. Some people have moved to other districts. Several were a 10-day drop, and then we get a records request from somebody else, or there's attendance issues and they want to go try another school. I've also heard some students wanted to leave and go to another district because that district doesn't do a senior project. Or they want to go to another school district because they don't charge sports fees. That is something that we are looking at. What do we gain from sports fees? Is that something that we actually, in the middle of budget cuts, we want to keep kids active and engaged in school? We need to remove that as a barrier. So we're strongly considering that. I asked Misty Love about our SPED count, because this is the change that is really interesting to me. Since 2024, we've had an increase of 25 special education students. So while some students are moving out, the students that are coming in are needing special education services. we're not identifying a whole lot of kids. I'm gonna have Missy present that data next month. So we're not identifying, students are coming in already identified needing special education services. That is just a really interesting trend, but I think I was surprised by this, to have an increase since fall of 24 of 25 students. While we have students moving out. And the layer that I want to add on to this for the board and for the public is enrollment is just this revolving door for Sheridan School District. And I don't know if that's a new trend. You know,
I don't think it's a new trend. I think we've seen it, the ebb and flow. We've just never seen this many people leave
yes.
and not come back. Like, I feel like we get turnover.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong in that, Pat, but don't you feel like, I feel like Adam's even talked about that. Like, there's a significant turnover of new students that come and go. But I don't think we've ever seen this many leave in a short window.
And I think also we're talking about education circles. Our junior, senior class is really the last group that had middle school and COVID experience. And they just want to be done in any possible way. And Pat and I have talked about the fact and having conversations with students about this is the last time you get a free education. Rather than doing the minimum, Pat continues to raise the bar of, no, you need to take the classes. This is free for you right now. This is your chance. So the students just want to be done. And it's hard to get them to be engaged, which I love the 90 days because it's all relational. So I presented this to the staff. While we're in the middle of budget cuts, we've got to grow programs and be relational. We got to keep meeting the needs of the kids who are here and are staying with us. We need to keep the bar high. I like that we have a senior project. I think that was a great experience for our students. So it's just, these are some of the feedback on things, and I can provide the board with more analysis on this, but like Pat said, there's not one thing popping up that is a reason.
Well, like, it's interesting about the senior project because that gave me a lot of anxiety when I was growing up, hearing my friends saying, oh, like, are you getting ready to do yours? And I was like, no, I don't even know. And then we didn't end up having one, right? And here I am, right? Like, I look at the state, I went to college, I graduated. So that wasn't impactful for me. And so I could see how it could cause anxiety in some of the students that maybe are less social, to have to do that. And, yeah.
And are there any other options, or it has to be a project? Because I know when my kids were going to school, they could do there was 300 hours of community service or something like that.
Yeah, that's enough, yeah.
Okay, because my kids were coaching rec basketball team or something.
I think a lot of it is we're just in the middle of a culture shift with online education being a thing, right? Like, it's becoming popular. We're gonna have to change something to make kids want to stay, right? Offering, ag classes and things, opportunities that maybe they won't have if they do online classes necessarily. I mean, I know they can still do a lot of the electives through the school district as well, but.
And our CTE is a whole.
Yeah.
And sports can be a whole. And it's also just making sure that we continue that high school culture that makes high school fun and enjoyable. The Pine and Face thing, the assemblies, what leadership does, the career fair. There was so much energy over there for the career fair today. It was fantastic. And kudos to Drew Carter and the National Honor Society students. They pulled out a good one. Yep.
Yeah, figuring out ways of keeping them engaged and excited.
Yeah.
It's tough in this world.
Definitely, there's just so many options.
Yeah.
There just wasn't that many options 10, 15 years ago.
And hopefully when we get some of our fun stuff done, it'll be more inviting to come to high school, but there's not a little parking lot or whatever.
Speaking of the parking lot, our bond update for the month, our bond oversight committee met on Monday. I think I consider it to be a very productive meeting. We got through reviewing the projects, the scope of the work to be done, and I'm excited to report that this summer the parking lot is going to get all new, and the high school roof will be taken care of. Interestingly enough, that the parking lot in front of, or the part of the, bus, what am I trying to say, that area in front of the.
The
high
back,
school.
the back.
The
Right
back
after
part.
that,
Yeah.
right at the speed bump.
Yeah.
Yeah, the speed bump.
You're literally at the speed bump.
They're gonna dig out a foot of that, is what we learned and talked about on
At least, yeah.
Monday, at least.
Documented bill.
Undocumented bill. So, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We've been starting the design team meetings and moving on and preparing for next summer. I just wanted to show the board, Elaine Burke has created Coming Soon. And these are gonna be up in the areas to show, the community what is going on. Nice picture, this is the area. Nice picture of it, but also the QR code. And we want to keep pointing people in the direction of the bond website because all the minutes are posted there, everything is on there, all the information. And there's a whole other set of these signs for the projects that are coming in 2027, so that people are going to be able to see that.
Is that where the live link for the meeting is too, or where do you?
I believe so. I will double check that.
I didn't know the meeting is online, so I came to it in person, but then discovered it was online. I was like, oh.
Because
In case you want to drop it in some
Yeah,
point,
okay.
it's easier to know where
Yeah.
to find it online.
Yeah, this, I will double check that on the link. I'm still learning the whole ins and outs of how we do live stream. But any committee now that reports to the board, as the bond oversight committee does, we follow public meeting law. We publish the agenda, it's live streamed, and we incorporate a lot of those, the elements about the board meeting.
I can answer that question.
Where is it? Yeah,
So it's a YouTube link that's posted on the bond website.
it's on
Oh,
the
it is?
bond website.
Okay.
That makes the most sense.
If you go to the minutes, there's links in there to view the recording, and then there's a link to the minutes being posted.
Perfect, thanks, Jen.
Not if you're on the guest website. Yes, it is. That is weird.
I'll have to look at it at home.
I know. For some reason, we're having problems
I
with
think it'd
our
be great
staff.
to let the board know
Yes.
where that can be found. So if anyone wants to check in, or if one of them can't be at the meeting themselves, they could be getting online.
Okay. That is it for my report tonight. Any other questions or comments?
Question and comment. On the drop over there in the parking lot area, are they going to fix the sidewalk to be like ADA accessible with the drop? Like today I was carrying my little luggage thing and it rolls and I'm like, there's no good spot for me to drop. I just have to drop off the sidewalk. Granted, it's not that high, right? But it's gonna be.
They'll fill that in. They're going to dig out. Yeah, I didn't explain that very well. They have to dig down to get a good foundation to build us a better parking lot, or else the sinkholes are going to keep happening. Is the understanding, but I will talk to them about the ADA part and just making sure we have spots all along the front of the high school.
You know, like, where do I get on? And I had a box on top of my rolling cart, and I was like, and then I just fell, and then I just had to pick it up, and it was a whole mess. But anyway, so then that's when I realized, I was like, there is no good spot on the sidewalk for a, like, down ramp or anything.
I'll check that.
Something to look into.
Probably should, I would imagine there's a rule saying they have to.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of that.
And then my comment was just gonna be about the online school and stuff. Funny enough, we were just talking about employment, out of work, and a lot of people, because of COVID, are now into, online work. Like, that is the shift, and which makes sense, like, students want to do online school, the shift now in the workforce is a lot of remote work. So, it's true. Trending up there.
Point.
It's a trend we're in, yes. I wanted to ask about the fundraising. I really enjoyed the write-ups there. I feel like I'm the squeaky wheel when it comes to those. If we could get that information out to the public, I think the public would really love to see, especially the numbers that you gave us with SES, maybe we could get some numbers in SHS too. I think the public really loves seeing how much came in and what it went to and all that. I think it means a lot.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's their money.
Right. Well, and we have a very, very generous community. We don't highlight it enough. Anytime that there has been a need. It seems like our community has just stepped up in enormous ways. So definitely we want to be more forward facing
Yeah,
with the donations and generosity in our community.
well, and over the years, I've heard people say, well, I'm not gonna donate to that because then the school will just take it. Well, this is actually showing them what we're using it for.
Sure.
We're not just taking it for Karen to spend wherever.
Even things like the 8th grade graduation and how that pool of money follows them through high school.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until last year and having an 8th grader, and it's like, that's a really cool
Yeah,
thing that we do. So.
that would be a comparable word to even put on social media. I think any of that positive stuff is good.
I got another question.
Yeah, a lot of money.
For the fundraising for the book class, just because it's about reading, are we working with Dollar General and any other grants?
I do not know that.
Can they service, within a 15-mile radius of their store?
You do need a dollar general grant.
Okay, cool. Because they have the youth literacy and then the summer reading. So I figured in case we,
Okay.
fingers crossed, we do get the summer reading, but, and or to enhance or summer reading.
Okay.
If you have someone help with that.
Wanna go through the-
Yeah, and I think when we get things like that, that would be really cool.
And I think it did.
Okay.
I gave information to Elaine and I think it went out in the bulletin board or something like that.
Not all of us see bulletin board. All right, next up is Karen, our fiscal report.
Depressing time of the year right now. First off, our ending fund balance is not very healthy this year. And so, of course, that's going to trickle into next year. But this is also the time of year where we go through and like at the beginning of the year, we encumber everything. Like we're going to pay, we have a PO for $10,000 for fuel or something. And so we think we're going to spend it all, but maybe we'll only spend $8,000. And so once we get down to the end of the year, we've paid off everything off that PO, we'll unencumber it. And so then all of a sudden there's an extra $2,000 there. So it's still just a plan, just a guesstimate. I'm just still hopeful that it'll turn black. We also have, let's see, on the state school fund overview. Because
Which
of,
one is this one? This one?
yes.
Okay.
So this is just kind of showing you what like the revenues are like during the year. So that top part shows this is how many times the state school fund amount has been adjusted this year. And then on top of that, we've got the charter rate, and that tells us how much we, pass through to the charter school. And that also changes. So these are kind of the things that we all get to deal with. And then the other thing I wanted people to see is the ADMW is what we get, or what our state school fund is based on. And so you can see that they hold us harmless. So like for 25-26, even though like our estimated enrollment is 1,291, they're actually basing our state school fund on the 1,369. So next year, they'll hold us harmless, but it's going to be on the 1,291 number. And then the year after that, so you can see how our declining enrollment gives us these negative adjustments when we do the reconciliation.
And it'll really hurt us if our numbers go back up, correct?
No, it will make it better.
Eventually, though.
Yes.
There'll be a delayed reaction.
Yeah.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
fun.
So
Yeah.
delayed reaction, but we also have the chance to get caught up, kind of caught up, like in, I think it was like in October, they do an adjustment. But yeah, it's so fluid.
So how far are we gonna eat into that ending fund balance?
With the way it looks right now, we're going to, our ending fund balance for next year will be $961,000. So, I mean, we'll still have something there, but it's not the healthy one that we've had. My
Well,
other-
and we were told we needed it to grow.
Exactly. It's like, Corey,
Yes.
not in these economic. But I'm also hoping that, you know, if we can get the roof fixed, we won't have as many, you know, repairs, and we can get our HVACs all fixed, and there's not huge, like, facilities, things that are a drain. The other thing I looked at, I was just doing some comparisons. Let's see, our electricity bills is basically going up at the same, like, I did it through March 31st of the last 3 years. It's basically going up by 3% every year. Our sub costs have gone up, from 24 to 25, they went up 28%. And I don't know, you know, it doesn't, right now we're at like, I don't know, 20% of that, so. And then the other thing was, our fuel costs. They've gone up, they went up 25% from 24 to 25, and right now it's kind of like that 13% increase. So those are some of the things we're dealing with. The other one was like power costs went up 18% from 24 to 25. So those are the things that we have no control. So for telling people to turn off the lights when they leave the room.
Maybe you own some land over here, we can put a solar farm on it.
Well, and hopefully with these lights, you know, they're like, they are occupant or whatever, they turn on, turn off, so hopefully that will help.
And we did new lights everywhere, right?
Up at Faulkner Chapman,
Does that help?
I don't know.
Well, time will
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we got these redone, so nice and quiet. I just had this low level like headache all the time. I'm like, what is it? It's because the fluorescence blue.
I mean, yeah.
And then also they're gonna quit making those bulbs, so.
Yeah.
We have to do that. And then the other thing was, I just did a quick overview of our, year-to-date expenditures. And so this is just kind of showing how our costs just increase. And of course, 2026 is only through March 31st, so that's why it's lower, but it's just where we are right now.
Questions for Karen?
Rain on everybody's parade.
Sorry.
Like outside today, oh my gosh.
I know, I did. I don't clean up that. You want? Yep. All right, we're gonna move into old business, which is Dory's, superintendent evaluation. We did it, and it was very successful. We had a good time, reviewing all the different, areas. What are those called again?
The standards.
Standards, I was gonna call them modules, but that's not the right word. Yeah, and then we actually had a work session, a few days later. Found out all the things we did wrong and things we did right. So, each year we're getting better at it, and we just wanna say we're very, happy to have Dory on our team.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. All right, next up, new and unfinished business. We have a board meeting calendar. No link to it.
What I wanted to talk to the board about is we have a May work session and we've requested Budget 101, which I'm starting to prepare for. So if you'd like to continue with that topic. The July meeting, well, the next meeting, we'll have the calendar ready for you to approve. But one thing I'd like just for you to think about is not to have a July board meeting, but to have a work session. Because one of the things we talked about in working through our OSBA training was making board goals, making superintendent goals. And we can spend a July board work session discussing some of that, and even reviewing the training would be a good idea.
We do not have anyone running this year, so we're not required to have a July board meeting. So I just wanted to get that on your radar. And then next month, we'll have the board meeting calendar for you to approve. Kind of sticking with the first Wednesday of the month, maybe a board work session, third Wednesday of the month is our board meeting.
Any feedback on that?
Thoughts?
Concerns, thoughts?
So the May work session, is that okay for the topics? I'm gonna start working on this budget 101.
Yeah,
We'll dive
I think
into
that's
this.
what the
important.
consensus of the board, yes,
Okay.
especially as a new board.
Okay.
This time especially, it's important.
And what I can do is also just go through the state school funding reports that Karen gets, so you can see what impacts that the funding that we get and how the state operates that, and this whole thing about how it plays catch up. So it's a year behind. Yeah.
Can
So
we
we'll just talk about it.
invite the budget committee members that we have
Yeah.
to that? I mean,
Sure.
sure,
That's a good idea.
thing, so I mean, just say, hey, we're gonna do this, if you'd like to join in.
Mhm. It'll be after the first meeting, so that'll be.
That's true, we can
Good
tell them
time.
about it then.
Yeah.
And we still have a vacancy,
Yes, we do.
no applicants yet.
We have, yeah. We do.
Promote that one.
Mhm.
All right, next up is the SEI ethics report.
As far as I know, I'm hoping it's due today, so all the board members completed it.
I didn't mind,
Never mind.
it's actually easier when you've done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll get easier.
I assume I did it right. They didn't email me saying it was bad.
Maybe we should send a group text out. I know Natalia did it, I'm not sure I'm ready.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe he did it, but.
I confirmed, I logged in and confirmed and I saw everyone's name.
Oh, perfect. So everyone's in.
As far as I know, everybody did it on time and didn't get
Whether we did it right, we don't know.
Yeah,
We did
it. I saw
it.
the names, so.
All right, let's move on to action items. Teacher Appreciation Week. Would you like to read that resolution for us?
All right, we were moving into, when we get into May, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. Teacher Appreciation Week is observed annually during the first full week in May in 2026, this is the week of May 4th. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sheridan Board of Directors proclaims that May 4th through 8th, 2026 to be Teacher Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Sheridan Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work.
All right. We have some awesome teachers, so I love this
Yes,
every year.
it's a fun week.
It is, yeah. I bet you guys have a ton of fun. I'm not even sure what all goes on, but it's probably best we don't. All right, is there a motion to accept the resolution as
I
presented?
move to accept the resolution as presented.
For a second.
Second.
All right, thank you guys. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move into a vote. Go ahead and take that vote, Jen.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Okay, next up. Superintendent proposed contract, which as you guys take a minute to look at it, we'll see that it's the same. We did change the date, right? That was brought up as a concern for when we need to have everything done in the evaluation.
I think March 30th.
I thought that was good, late enough that we can get it in there with our meetings. But that was the only thing you changed, correct?
Correct.
It was the
The date.
17th or 15th.
It was the 15th.
Yeah, it was too soon, because
Yeah.
depending on when our meeting landed, it could have been too late. We just want to be able to follow what we're doing here. So is there any questions about this? Okay, then is there a motion to accept the superintendent contract as presented?
I move to accept the superintendent contract as presented.
Do we have a second? Second. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I just really want to thank Dory for stepping out and kind of freezing your contract and leading the way, because it's going to be probably a tough couple of years. And I think that's just really awesome of you and your leadership. Thank you. All right, can we move? Anyone else? No? Okay, move into a vote, Jen?
Ruby? Aye.
Samantha? Aye.
Jerry?
All right, motion passes. Okay, topics for the next meeting. Do we have anything anyone wants to throw out? And again, if you don't think of anything right at the moment, that's okay. You can email Dory or myself and we'll get it in there.
I can give you a quick heads up. There will be from RNC approval, so we're trying to get those documents to you ahead of time related to bond projects. I will invite Missy to come in and give a detailed special education report. Adam will do his regular report. It seems like there was a couple other things in there that I'm forgetting. Those are the main.
And we'll get the
topics.
kids back, right?
Yes, FCS students will be back to do their report.
Look forward to it. Anything else? Okay. Board comments. Jeremy, you got anything?
I just had maybe a correction. We noticed that the calendars for the district calendar and the parent calendar list the half day at the end of the school year as different days. So the parent calendar shows the half day is on Thursday and the district calendar shows the half day is on Wednesday.
Oh,
So,
we will get that fixed.
yeah, and communicate that.
Yes.
My
Make
wife
sure
got
it's
that, so yeah, communicate that out to make sure that parents know when the half day and the last day of school is.
Ruby?
I wanted to give a kudos to the staff that, worked very hard on the career fair today. I was there in attendance, not as a school board member, but as an employee of the state. So it was fun to talk to students, and see what they all want to do after they graduate. And, handed a lot of career, booklets that I had with me that talked about different occupations, how much they pay, and if they need to go to school or not for that. And so that was pretty cool to hand out. I actually talked to one of the teachers at the Belfield School, and he said he uses our curriculum or our book for his curriculum in his business seminar or something. And he brought over one of his students and was like, "It's true, right, that I use this?" And we're like, "Yeah, you have us do resumes, and we go through this booklet, and then we have to create a resume as one of our like homework or something." So that's kind of cool. Yeah. But there's so many students, so many vendors, and it was a good networking event, to talk to other people as well. So kudos to you all.
Yeah, my daughter said it was a lot of fun, a lot of good swag, a lot of good things to take home. Yeah, they love their swag.
That's great. For me, I went to the bond meeting. It was my first bond meeting to go to. It was fun to just kind of sit in the back of the room and listen to what was going on. Not sure what to walk into, but it was well organized. I appreciated that. I appreciated it was only 45 minutes long, so that's nice. Everyone seemed to have a chance to ask questions and all the things. I'm not sure where Ray was, but I would like to just touch bases with him at some point and make sure he's still able to withhold that commitment. And if he's not, then we should find someone who can fill that position on that, just so we're well represented, since everything's going to come here to us in the picture. So
It's definitely gaining traction and getting smoother. It's every other month, there's so much difference in 2 months before we have a new one, but yeah. It's
a lot happens
progressive.
in that amount of time.
Yeah, it's getting traction there.
I just enjoyed the in-depth information.
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, our next meeting is the 20th of next month. Upcoming events are listed up there. And it is 7:10, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
We realized that I needed to do that.
Yeah. My daughter had a whole bag full.